a vendor could, generate invoices over years and be paying their invoices and publish this information to a blockchain without actually revealing what they're sending to whom, but being able to prove to a creditor years from now, hey, look, I'm good at paying my invoices. I'm a good credit risk.
Thank you to my sponsor, Cake Wallet, where you can store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero safely on your iOS and Android devices. MetalPay, how banking was meant to be. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Girl Gone Crypto. I'm really excited. I've got an awesome guest that a lot of you guys have been requesting that I have on the channel. And so Rob Viglione, the co-founder of Horizen and CEO of Horizen Labs, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Thank you for having me, Leah. It's an absolute pleasure.
So just to kick off, can you give us a high-level overview of what Horizen is and what Horizen Labs is and what it is that you guys are building?
Totally, I'd love to. So Horizen is a project that we launched 3 years ago as, at the time, really a privacy coin. Now what we're doing, what we've been evolving to since then, has been actually scaling privacy. And that was always the goal, was to scale privacy, but with a purpose, with kind of a social purpose and with better economics. So if you look at Horizen today, we can talk in detail about the sidechain technology that we have, but it was about taking zero knowledge cryptography from just coin transfer to now doing data privacy and extending this into a platform that application developers can use to very quickly spin up their own blockchains that come with very strong privacy, and then to build applications on these blockchains.
Got it. So let's walk through that piece of things where you were just talking about developers being able to utilize your technology to create their own blockchains. How does that work exactly? Like, what kind of governance structure do these blockchains have? Can you walk us through that component a little bit more?
Yeah, so they're like mini dictatorships. So they could be. I say that sort of jokingly, but actually what our technology is, obviously, since your viewers are very, very familiar with crypto, I would say for crypto, people who understand crypto, we're taking, say, a Polkadot and Cosmos and doing that, but integrating zero knowledge crypto into the very core of it. So think about blockchain of blockchains, sidechains that can scale to do different things. And we have an SDK, so a software developer kit, that developers can take the tools that we have available to basically launch their own blockchains that are interoperable with the Horizen blockchain, but really their own. They're completely independent blockchains that are interoperable. But nothing that we do as a core developer team to the main chain will ever influence any of the sidechains. The sidechains are theirs. They can then focus on their application layers, or they can do anything. It's full control. You can change consensus if you wanted to, as long as you integrate the interoperability protocol. So that's the point of it, is to make it really easy to bootstrap blockchains. Now, Horizen Labs, you asked about, is the commercial company that raised some venture capital to actually build out business applications in the ecosystem. So Horizen, the public blockchain, is very idealistic, and our mission statement is about making the world better and creating a fair, inclusive ecosystem for people to come together and be rewarded for their contributions. But at some level, you have to get people to actually use the system beyond philanthropy, use it for a variety of things, and that's what Horizen Labs is all about: is bringing real-world use cases in to really bring that critical mass and really just bring the critical mass in the ecosystem.
So what are some sidechains that you've seen people develop? Like, how have people kind of taken this technology and spun it in their own ways? Like, what are some examples?
I think the coolest example is our partnership with Celsius. So Celsius Network is one of the most prolific centralized finance applications in our industry. They do an enormous amount of peer-to-peer lending on their platform. And right now, it's called CeFi for a reason, because they do run servers that actually keep track of information. We're actually decentralizing Celsius with them. So this is a great example of our technology, is being able to provide the blockchain backbone with privacy that their users need on the Celsius network.
So how exactly will that work? So right now, let's say I'm a Celsius user and, I've been, buying Bitcoin every month in my Celsius app and earning my 6% and, whatever they offer back in those APY returns. What will change for me as a Celsius user, and what kind of options will I have available now?
So if we do it right, nothing will change, except you'll feel more confident that the information you're being provided with is validated by a public network. So that's phase one. Actually, phase one project is a proof of reserves project. so that the network itself has more assurance that what's going on underneath the hood is actually what's really going on. So they're a very obviously prolific group of individuals running that company, and they've got an amazing amount of market share. Now what they want to do is provide an additional layer of assurance to the market that what's really going on is valid.
Interesting. It almost, we've heard a lot of people talk about auditing projects lately. Like, this almost seems like that's giving kind of that similar vibe of, okay, here's the public ledger of these things happening.
Absolutely. And, huge kudos to them. So it's an extremely successful project saying, we're not happy with where we are. We want to be even better. We want even more assurance for our users. And this shows you a flavor of where our technology comes in, is we can provide that backbone for them so that their developers can focus on the application and not worry about the nitty-gritty of launching and running a blockchain.
So, you mentioned CeFi a moment ago, obviously in relation to Celsius, and I kind of feel like this wouldn't be a proper blockchain interview in 2020 if we didn't talk about DeFi as well. And so what has been your kind of approach to CeFi versus DeFi? Is Horizen looking at any of these DeFi protocols, or what does that kind of process internally look like for you guys?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you look at where we are now in terms of our development path, so fast forward a year or two from now, you'll see us roughly where, say like a Polkadot or Cosmos is, where they're already integrating oracles into their system. So that developers who want to launch decentralized finance applications will have price feeds coming in from outside sources. You'll have things that can do like smart contracting for price stable assets. At the core of DeFi ecosystems, you have to have something like a Zen dollar, just like Ethereum has DAI and USDC and all these other stable coins that can now use as a core for being able to do lending, yield harvesting, and so forth. So as an organization, we're focusing right now on the very basics, like the protocol level basics that you need. You need the price feeds in, you need the smart contracting tools. You need to make it easy for developers to come in and start actually replicating what already exists in these other areas. But what's the point if we're just replicating? We're trying to do it in a way that actually scales better. And our niche is integrating privacy into all of it.
Yeah. Now, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was an area that I wanted to dig into a little more. So can you kind of take us under the hood a little bit and look at the exact, the way that you guys are setting up privacy? Because obviously a lot of different blockchains have set that up in different ways. Monero has the ring transactions, and, there's various different tech and ways that you could set this up. Can you walk us through how Horizen is built?
Totally. That's a great question. And maybe I should step from the architecture layer. So if you look at the Horizen main blockchain, it's a proof of work blockchain that has zero knowledge integrated in there for coin transfer, and it's like a data messaging field. So it's the bootstrap from Zcash technology, and it stayed there. So the point of it was really just to be a stable main chain that can do private transactions. But what we've done with what we call the Zen2 interoperability protocol for sidechains, it now enables you to launch proof of stake sidechains that come integrated with a new cryptographic library that we built called GingerLib. And it's actually meant to do a whole bunch of other hash functions, proof recursion. So you could program into your sidechain logic to do certain things. So you want your blockchain to do certain types of operations, say tokenization as an example. You can actually build a snark circuit, so a zero knowledge cryptographic circuit that says you must play by these rules of this blockchain. And then what happens is all of the block forgers on this proof of stake sidechain aggregate transactions. Each transaction comes with a zero knowledge proof of validity. Proofs get aggregated together, and our cryptographic library does proof recursions and then sends a certificate back to the main blockchain. So the main blockchain is proof of work, doesn't have to know anything about any sidechain, which is how it's massively scalable, because if you have a new application idea, you don't have to come to us and try to convince us to change the main blockchain to support your application. You do it all yourself, and all we require is a proof certificate that comes back out of your sidechain. We don't even know what's going on under the hood. All we know is that whatever happened, abided by the rules that you declared yourself, and then the main chain just validates that. So this is the strand of cryptography that we use. It's not the ring CT stuff that Monero does. But an interesting fact about our interoperability protocols Zen2 is you could actually launch a Monero sidechain. Not Monero, the main network, but a ring CT Monero clone could operate as a Horizen sidechain. We don't constrain consensus at all.
Interesting. Okay. And so, one thing that I think we need to take a moment and just define, because you've mentioned zero knowledge a few times. So for those that are watching that don't really know what that means, can you define that for us?
Yeah, so zero knowledge, the nomenclature itself is perfect description, because what it is, it's a class of cryptography that allows you to execute certain types of operations and prove to the world that the operation is executed correctly without actually seeing the underlying data of what was being executed. And the classic example is what Zcash brought to coin transfer was, I could send you, Zen or Zcash, and what would be broadcast to the network, what the world sees, is that a valid transaction happened, but not the fact that it was me sending you money or how much was actually sent. So you can prove the validity of the coin transfer without actually showing who transferred what to whom. Now, we're extending that to data privacy with some classic examples of working with invoice generators in certain Latin American markets, where you can generate like a huge volume of invoices. And a vendor could, generate invoices over years and be paying their invoices and publish this information to a blockchain without actually revealing what they're sending to whom, but being able to prove to a creditor years from now, hey, look, I'm good at paying my invoices. I'm a good credit risk, and just do this with a zero knowledge proof instead of actually revealing all of this potentially sensitive information.
Interesting. And so it sounds like that's just like one potential application of this type of technology. What are some other kind of real world industry and applications you see adopting this?
Yeah, so we're working with a gaming company right now as well. So we're focusing, actually, that before I even dive into gaming, where our near-term focus is actually working with other public blockchains. We have some very interesting projects in the works with some other public blockchains out there to do things that maybe they don't have the latitude to do on their chains. So for instance, there are some blockchains out there that don't want to integrate privacy for regulatory reasons. Well, they could launch a Horizen sidechain that retains privacy for a certain subset of actions that they couldn't do on their main blockchain, but you can make them interoperable in the sense that their coin or token could transfer into the sidechain, but they can now leverage privacy applications that they couldn't do on their own. That's the first layer. The next wave of partnerships coming out will be things like Celsius, where we're servicing basically the blockchain industry, but in a particular way. And that we're really excited about those particular applications. On the business end, invoicing is a huge one. Factoring invoices is another one. So getting into finance, but you say like not necessarily DeFi, but RealFi. I don't know. Like invoice factoring is a $1 trillion industry around the world. Well, we're getting into that as well. Auction marketplaces for invoices, and again, huge to bring capital and financing to the developing world that don't have access to, say, Wall Street. But being able to use blockchain technology and strong cryptography to assure financiers on Wall Street, say a hedge fund on Wall Street, could invest in, say, a Mexican taco stand, because we can prove the Mexican taco stand is really good at paying their bills and they're really good at credit risk because we have all this transaction records recorded on blockchain that's tamper resistant, and you can look at it all and gain that assurance that you need to invest the $10,000 into their taco stand expansion to create the next franchise. So it's things like this that we have a lot of passion for, bringing real finance to crypto and blockchain, but in a way that unlocks capital and opportunity in parts of the world that just don't have it.
Well, you might have just made me really hungry for tacos, not gonna lie.
Me too. Yeah, I'm always hungry for tacos.
So obviously, the Celsius partnership is a big thing that you guys have been working on right now, but what else is kind of coming down the line for your team? What are you guys working on and what are you guys really excited about?
What we're working on internally, we're building out a tokenization application to the SDK currently. The SDK is capable. We launched something called Lambo Registry. It was kind of a toy application that an ode to the crypto industry of Lambo loving crypto users, but also a developer toolkit. So we wanted developers to have a hands-on tutorial guide of how to take the SDK and launch their own custom applications. So we built a Lambo Registry is their custom application. We're extending the Lambo Registry into a generalized tokenization platform, and then ultimately we'll be extending that to things like yield harvesting, to doing other things that you see in the DeFi world, so people can issue their tokens, they can stake their tokens, they can reward users for tokens that are staked, and then ultimately getting into all the Ethereum ERC standards so that people can issue their own tokens for things like security token offerings, if they want to do ICOs and different things. we want to provide next generation type of capability to do that.
Awesome. Well, Rob, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the channel and just chat about all the different things you guys are working on and building at Horizen. So if people want to continue checking you guys out and learn more, where should they go?
So Horizen.io is the one-stop shop. You can check out everything. Most of the community activity happens on Discord. So join Discord. We have a Telegram group, really just different channels for communication. Check us out on Twitter, really any of the social feeds. We're always happy to answer questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Rob. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Leah. Appreciate it.